Most of the time when we are conducting surveys, we will have some open-ended questions that we will ask in addition to posing close-ended questions. For example, this is data obtained from a survey where the researcher asked numerous close-ended questions, which were then analyzed using quantitative methods. However, they also asked some open-ended questions which require qualitative analysis. Now, let's look at how we can use NVivo to analyze responses from open-ended questions during the surveys. Here we have NVivo. I'm going to go and create a new project and call this Analyzing Survey Responses. You can name your file as you see fit. Then I'm going to browse and put it in the container where I want it. Let me see. I put it in my desktop where I'm doing this video. Yeah. So let me save it there. Click on next. Here again, do not allow autosave. Sometimes NVivo can crash and you can lose your progress. So I like to have my manual saving every 15 minutes. You can see 15 minutes and I create the project. When we create a project, this is what we get in NVivo. Remember, the main areas we are going to focus on as beginners in NVivo is the files section and the codes section. These two sections are our main thing. So I want to import our survey here, which is an Excel, by the way. Let me show you that survey. You can see this survey responses is an Excel because normally we have surveys in Excel or we use tools that export it in Excel. So I want to go to import, okay? Of course, there is this option. Files is the normal option, but survey, you can see you can import a survey into NVivo. And mine is in Excel format. Let me go to documents and go find my survey over here. This is it. It's an Excel file. Then I open. So they will ask me that I have all this. Yes, I say yes. So I let it load. Click the data format. I'll click on next. I like it. Then let's just have the classifications as they are. Questions with red background are longer than 255 characters and be truncated. Edit question if required. So these questions will be cut short, but no problem. Let's click OK. There is this option to autocode to just have a review of everything you have. So if you need to, I don't like autocoding because I'm going to do the coding manually. But if you need that, you can click. But I just want to import. I don't want to autocode anything. I just want to organize or to import the survey responses, then analyze the main questions. So as NVivo is opening, let's go back to this survey and let me remind you the questions we are analyzing. Now, when you're doing a survey, although we normally ask closed question in a survey, neutral, strongly disagree, we use a Likert scale and all these things, then we go analyze such data using tools such as SPSS. Sometimes you may want to, or you have open questions. For example, in this survey, this person has two questions. One is, have you ever had the feeling that you've been treated unfairly in the software industry? Could you explain? Okay. So people are asked to explain their feelings. Then they have another question. What is the biggest obstacle you face or have faced in the past regarding your work in the software industry? Could you explain? So two questions that need explanations. They are not closed questions, okay? The rest are closed questions. So these two open questions are the ones that we need to analyze, code them, and get themes. That's what we are doing. So back to NVivo, where everything has been importing. You can see we have just imported the whole survey. It's like an Excel format here. Now, on the survey, remember I'm in the file section. I can scroll and find the questions I want to analyze, the open-ended questions. So let's scroll until we get to those kind of questions. So it's like you are scrolling the Excel till I find the two questions that I want to consider in the analysis. Here are the two questions that we want to analyze.
Let me interrupt this video for a minute and inform you of my services. My first type of service that I offer is consulting for anything related to qualitative data analysis using NVivo. You hop on a video call with me through Microsoft Teams or Zoom, and I will help you become a pro with NVivo in a few hours. I also provide a done-for-you data analysis service. I do the manual coding and provide a data analysis report with the necessary visuals. Some kind of visuals I do include tables, hierarchy charts, and the framework matrix. Email or message me right now, details in the description.
So I'll just go in and start analyzing and coding. Now, let's go to the code section. We can see they classify some responses automatically here, but that's not the real coding. We'll just ignore this, and you can even go ahead and delete that, okay? Those are just responses that are classified. No problem with that. I can delete that. So I want to go to the code section, create a new folder, and call this initial codes. Okay, we have initial codes here. Now, in the initial codes folder, we can start developing codes. There are two ways to manage codes. We can label them using a color code. Another thing you can do is to capture them under a question. For example, we can use this question as a container to contain all the answers that we have there. So if we go back to the Excel, you can see this question. Let me copy this question. And now, in the code section, I right-click, I create a new code, and let's paste that question there. Let's delete the question marks, okay? And this is question number 1. So, what I'm just doing is putting that question there, then I'll put the answers, which are the codes. So I'm using the question as container to manage the data. Now, let's also consider the second question. Remember, we are just highlighting the questions so that we know where the codes belong when we start coding. Which ones belong to question 1, which one belong to question 2. Okay, that's basically what I'm doing, nothing much. Now, let's start some coding. You can see the question. Have you ever had a feeling that you've been treated unfairly in the software industry? Could you explain? No, fairly hard since I'm white, cis male. We can drag and drop the code in the blank space and say, believes they have never been treated unfairly because of their race and standard sexuality. Remember, codes are an interpretation of what we want to infer. So I have the first code, and I drag it, I put it in under number 1, which is the container. Okay, I'm just containing codes in that question. Then there's another one. Have you ever had the feeling that you've been treated unfairly in the software industry? Could you explain? No, my decisions and opinions are taken into considerations. So again, I can drag and drop this, say, believes they are treated fairly and their input is taken into consideration. Again, drag and drop that code. We can also assign codes directly to our container. Let me show you. Have you ever had a feeling that you've been treated unfairly? So this person says never. Okay? So we can code this as, right click, go to code selection. I want to put that code under number 1, click on child code and say never treated unfairly. Remember, a code is an exposition, or we are trying to explain what someone is saying in an easier way. A code is a label or an interpretive statement to any particular information that's important to our research questions or objective. So we are coding these open-ended responses. Another person here says no. So although they are giving a closed answer, we can do that and code that under never treated unfairly. And code selection, you can see now 2 references here. 2 references means 2 quotes, as we are going to double click and see. Then this person, I haven't noticed this, so they have never been treated unfairly. Actually, this one we can go to code selection and say never noticed any form of unfair treatment. Okay, let's keep going. Another one says not really. So this one will go to code selection. Again, that one is never treated unfairly. You see, we have this code. Again, put that in there. We have 3 people now. Then we have another no here. Again, like click code selection. We code that under never treated unfairly. Code selection. Another one here. Code selection. We code that under never treated unfairly. This one too. None. Code selection. Never treated unfairly. You get that. Ideally, we can have 6 references for one code. Let's see this sentiment. The ideas of my supervisors were followed for too long. My valid concerns were ignored, even though it was obvious things were going wrong. This person I code that under number 1. I go to child code. Believes they have been treated unfairly. Remember, this is the main question. Because of their concerns getting ignored. Believes they have been treated unfairly because of their concerns getting ignored. So that's the code. Then there's another one. No, the company I work for, not fork, this is just a mistake, demands you put in your best effort, but accept that things do not always succeed. So this one also believes that they are treated fairly. So again, code selection. They never been treated unfairly. So basically, we go through all this coding. There's another one who says, participant number 19, incompetent management often takes credit for my work and seem to be rewarded financially when I'm not. So what does this person do? They believe they are treated unfairly. This one I can go to code selection. Believes they are treated unfairly by the management who do not give them credit and benefit financially. So again, we can always go and edit these codes when I make some typing errors. When I make the typing errors here, I just go and say, believe they are treated unfairly. So that's another code. Now, we have these codes that we've developed and we put them in the container of the first question. So if we go to the first question, we can click aggregate coding from children to bring all these codes together. And these numbers change now. One file, these numbers are coming, or these codes are coming from one file, 12 references. Remember, they are not coming from one participant, as we will see. For example, if we double click on this code, okay, to open the code that we put there, then we go and click on the link. You can see where it came from. So this one came from participant 1. So later, when we are writing the findings report, we can be able to go back and make this attribution, okay, that this came from participant 1. That's why it's good to import the surveys in the right way in NVivo. Now, that's just an example of the first question. For the second question, we still do the same. If we are coding, we scroll to the second question. I want to go to move to my right or to the right. As you can see, this is the second question. What is the biggest obstacle you face or have faced in the past regarding your work in the software industry? Could you explain what's the biggest obstacle they faced? Let's see the obstacles. Honestly, can't think of many besides to find ethical, well-paying careers that don't involve leaking government boots. That's a bit funny. But let's see, or the main point this person is trying to say is that the main obstacle they face in the software industry is finding well-paying and ethical career opportunities. That's how I'm going to code that or interpret that. So that's one of the challenges this person has said. So that one, we put it under number 2, code selection. Now, understanding code base older than my career, but my office were very helpful. So this person, the technical challenges they have had, or the challenges they have had are technical challenges. Okay, so this one I can go to code selection. Again, I right click on number 2, child code. This one has experienced some technical challenges in their workplace. Click code selection. Then changing the old ingrained ways of old guard in favor of better practices, still battling that. So this person has faced challenges with what? Resistance to change, okay? So resistance to change is the code that I attach to that statement. So this person has faced some resistance to change. Or you can say inability of their team members or other people to adopt new ways of working. Basically resistance to change. Then another person here, biggest obstacle, I noticed that in the beginning phase of my career that people did not take me seriously, probably because of my lack of experience. Arguments I had which were very logical were not accepted firsthand. After a few years, I noticed that I was being taken more serious. It makes sense, of course. It can be annoying and it's something which you need to accept. So this person faced an obstacle of ignored inputs at the beginning of their career. Ignored input at the beginning of their career. So we can code that whole story or anecdote as that code. Visibility of work, missing documentation. So these are two challenges that this person is saying, missing documentation. Let me just code this second one as it is. We can code directly. Challenges with missing documentation. Perfect. Now, we can go to the second question and do what we call aggregate coding for children. So let me close the survey and you can see the work that I'm doing. That's how we code information from open-ended questions in surveys. After coding, what will be the next step? The next step will be we can come and create another folder in the code section and call this preliminary themes and click OK. I can go back and copy all these initial codes that I have. I select them and copy, okay? Then I go to the preliminary themes and paste my work here. So I'm just copying to show that I came from initial codes to preliminary themes, okay? Now, having done that, I can now go and revise. Remember, I told you I'm not using the questions as themes. So I can go and check for themes and sub-themes. For example, if you look at the answers we were having for the question number 1, have you ever had a feeling that you've been treated unfairly in the software industry? We can edit this to participants' perception of fairness in the software industry. So that's kind of a rough theme, and I can even add a description that this theme represents the participants' feelings of whether they've been treated fairly or unfairly in the software industry. So I'm editing. Now you see that's not a question anymore. I can come to the question number 2 and go to code properties and edit. What is the biggest obstacle you face or have faced in the past regarding your work in the software industry? Challenges experienced by individuals working in the software industry. Okay? Or common challenges experienced by individuals working in the software industry. And remember, these are preliminary themes. I'll go edit my ideas. Then, let's look at the codes. If you look at the codes, we got two types of people. Those who are saying they are treated fairly and those who are saying they are not treated fairly. We will just review the codes and classify them. In the blank space, I can click on new code. I can say one sub-theme is treated fairly, treated fairly, treated unfairly, treated fairly and treated unfairly. Those two, drag and drop them under the theme participant perceptions of fairness. Now, these are sub-themes. I'm going to allocate themes into this. So let me show you what I mean. Believe that they are treated unfairly. You see, this person falls in the unfair category. Then another one, they have never been treated unfairly, so they are treated fairly. Believes they are treated fairly because their input is taken into consideration. Believes that they have been treated. This one has some spelling mistakes. Let's correct them by right-clicking code properties. Again, treated unfairly because of their concerns being ignored, so that one was treated unfairly. Never noticed any form, so they were treated fairly. Never treated unfairly. So these two categories, again, I can select both of them and then right click and go to aggregate coding from children. From there you can see. Now these are kind of sub-themes. Participants' observation of fairness, being treated fairly, being treated unfairly. So that's how we keep revising, having preliminary themes and doing all that. Now, in the other codes of common challenges, we can come and classify the challenges into team dynamics, technical challenges. If I did coding for all the responses, that's what I would do. That's how we get preliminary themes. Again, if I want to create final themes to keep editing my themes, I create a new folder, call these final themes. Final themes. And these folders, we can also go to folder properties and name them or number them so that they are not disorganized. For example, initial code is A. Preliminary themes is folder properties, I add B. And final themes is number C. Right click, folder properties, number C. Okay. Perfect. Those are three ways, or those are ways we can create folders and manage the data. So if I want to keep editing, I just go copy this and paste it in the final themes and proceed. Basically, that's how we analyze open-ended questions in surveys. We consider coding them, then we try getting themes, and now we are going to write the findings as a report, which is different from the quantitative findings we have for other sections. That's how we do the analysis of open-ended responses in surveys. If you need to learn more about coding and getting themes, check my other videos which explain or try to explain coding and coming up with themes in a deeper way.
Remember, I provide done-for-you data analysis services and consulting services for any problem or challenge related to NVivo. So check the link and email in the description and talk to me right away. Thank you.